From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben. We're joined, as always, with our super producer, Dylan, the Tennessee pal Fagan. Most importantly, you are here. That makes this the stuff they don't want you to know. We've got something very special for you folks. We hope you enjoy it as much as we do. Instead of our weekly listener mail program this week, we're publishing our live Q&A session that we had immediately after our live show on the high seas and international waters. I think we all really enjoyed the conversation. I think we were surprised by the depth of sea jokes, of knowledge and experience we ran into, and we didn't know it would last that long.
Well, frankly, we wouldn't have released it if it wasn't worth your time, and it really, really was. So we got some absolutely fascinating questions from the audience, a few that really took us aback in the best possible way. And I think it's some great conversation, some great back and forth, and very much in the spirit of listener mail, just like, in real time with the folks that were there at the show.
It was a gloriously good time. We hope you guys enjoy it.
So here we go. And with that in mind, because you're our favorite part of the show, we wanted to pass the mic to you. We're into the breach here. Should we do it? Should we do a Q&A?
Oh, yeah, we would love to start a Q&A. Yeah, do you have any questions of any sort?
About this? About anything.
Talk about anything?
Oh.
Okay. So we got one taker.
We've got the legendary Carly coming here with a mic for us.
Oh, yes. Sorry, we just sprung this on you, Carly. We were just, we wanted to do this earlier. That's our bad.
Who was up? Over here?
Taking all the lore out of it, looking at the Bermuda Triangle as a whole, you're going to see certain trends. But if you look at singular events, like take the naval bomber wing, for example, you've got a single vessel that has multiple source navigation, magnetic, pedostatic, you've got atmospheric pressure. So now you've got 5 of those that all lose navigation at the same time. How do you see a confluence of things that could explain all of that happening at once?
We didn't quite get to this.
Yeah,
there was a bit about, there's a certain phenomenon that I believe has to do with magnetic north versus true north. And there's a line that runs through this area that can cause some, I believe it's called magnetic declination, or it's certain tolerances that are built in to this navigation stuff.
If you know more, you should say it.
Yeah, you absolutely should. You're bringing up a good point, because this is something that is absolutely worth, chatting further about.
You've got solar flares that can, mess with magnetic. So there's a lot of singular things that can mess with singular systems, but nothing that's really explained something that would cover, the entire bank of navigation that you would have. And even an old aircraft had all of this.
Right.
So no one's, looking at old farmers' almanacs from, atmospheric things, you don't see anything that really explains any of those. Have you guys come up with anything that's connected those? Because I haven't seen anything that's been valid.
The agonic line, by the way, is the term. It's this line that passes through the Bermuda Triangle, where it's a place on Earth where true north and magnetic north align, and it can cause some of these anomalies. But you're right. There are lots of other methods of navigation that can get messed with as well. So
the only thing I was thinking about in that specific case, when you got multiple systems that go down, but they're all electronic, right? Theoretically, are they all electronic, or are some of them not?
Not all.
Pedostatic systems don't necessarily need electronics at all. They all run off of that atmospheric pressure. Even the magnetic navigation doesn't either. It's solely based off the magnetic field. So none of that really is electrical. None of it was electronic.
Yes.
But most of the stuff was not electrical.
So like an EMP wouldn't be a deal breaker.
Yeah, only the gyroscope uses a vacuum pump.
Right.
My mind immediately went to coronal mass ejection, some small just happened to hit in the exact wrong spot where there was enough of that energy that would fry electronics. But if it's not electronics, I don't know.
I like your point.
Of that far back?
I like your point about a confluence of factors.
Right.
Because what we found is that there's no silver bullet explanation for these many mysteries. and a lot of things can go wrong. So it's quite possible, without us being there in the moment, it's quite possible that there could have been weather. I love the coronal mass ejection idea. That could be something that people might have missed at that time. So it's likely that there were multiple factors in some of those situations. At least that's my take.
Sure. Great question.
It is.
Great question.
Good job, sir.
You classed up the show, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else have a question for us? Carly, throw the mic.
Just throw it.
Just give it a chuck.
I would love if each of you guys could answer this question, but if you were given presidential level access to all government files for 24 hours, what's the first thing you're looking at and why?
Wow.
Let's start with you.
Oh, put me on the spot.
Yeah.
I need a minute. That's a really cool question. Gosh. I don't know. I'd love to see more information about certain musical icons that I'm into, like John Lennon or whatever, and specifically how he was being surveilled, to what degree, what were some of the reasons behind keeping tabs on people like that. Mm-hmm. That's just what comes to mind, but that's a really good one, and there's a lot more answers that I could come up with if I had a second. But Ben, I'm sure you got a good one.
Oh, sure, yeah. I think we're on the same page about this. Everything from MK Ultra. I want to see all of that stuff. I want to see it now.
MK Ultra being the experiments with dosing the public,
mind control,
with psychedelics, etc.
Because we only know a very small amount of that as the public, and we only know that because literally somebody had a goof one day and they put the files in the wrong cardboard box, and it went to the wrong place, and someone found just a bit, a tiny percentage of what happened during MK Ultra, and they went, oh, they're gonna get me now, So I'd love to figure that out. Of course, anything disclosure related, unredacted Project Blue Book would be dope as well.
Yeah. I want to know, was Bob Lazar actually working at Area 51? Oh. What was that substance? Was he actually there? What was that thing? Is there anything kept in that specific facility or underneath it? To me, that is the most important information that could exist.
Mm-hmm. Is Bob Lazar in the room with us now?
No, I was going to summon him or conjure him. No. But I think for me, that going back to early extraterrestrial claims is still the place where I think my mind's always going to go, and I'm going to be the most interested in that stuff probably until I leave the planet or until a president someday says, "This is it, ladies and gentlemen of the United States."
They've really been looking for some distractions lately, so maybe this will happen.
We might get it.
Yeah. And also Epstein. Yeah.
Here,
have a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one, and pay no attention to this one over here, please.
All right, next question.
Mm-hmm. I was curious what each of your personal wildest conspiracy theory that you believe.
All right, fine. It's Project Bluebeam. That's mine. Have you ever heard of Project Bluebeam? Anybody?
You'll love this one.
It's the concept that some government somewhere, probably the U.S., would one day fake an alien invasion to unite the planet and all the world's governments and resources to work together rather than against each other in this beautiful conceptual way, right? Or even potentially bring back a historic religious figure like Jesus or Muhammad or somebody to, again, reunite the world in some way. It would be super cool if it was happening. And there is tech that can shoot holograms up into clouds and make things, it looks like 3D objects that are moving. So, what is it?
Drone swarms.
Drones, right? Weird.
Get a drone swarm over North Sentinel Island, and just roll the dice.
But nobody's focusing on drone tech right now. Oh, crap.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. One thing, so give you one wild one. That was a question. Give you one real one that should scare everybody. So one of the wild ones that I'm personally just fascinated with would be work coming from kind of out there authors like Graham Hancock, and the idea that somewhere in genetic code, in a way that we don't understand, there's a possibility of transmitting, not just the blueprint for what makes your mind and your body, but perhaps some other kind of knowledge, right? This is related. This is a high-octane version of things like the study of epigenetics. And epigenetics shows us that things that happen to you physically during your time can affect the genetic expression of your children and your children's children, right? And this is proven science, but the idea that, all right, you guys seem cool, so this is a drug reference, okay? So one of the interesting things we read when we were doing episodes on DMT and various hallucinogens and psychedelics was this really out there idea that some of these substances and the way they affect the human brain can allow you to talk to something inside your DNA, which is super trippy.
Is that what the machine elves are?
That's the machine elves. Yeah. Yeah, that's the idea. So I think that's mind-blowing. The one we can prove that everybody needs to be frightened of if you're from the United States is the Invention Secrecy Act from the 1950s. If you invent something, and Uncle Sam, by hook or by crook, deems it a national security threat, no matter what it is, then they can take it from you. They can put an NDA upon you. You can't even talk to your spouse, your loved ones about it for the rest of your life. And if you try to push back against that, well, let's just say it this way. It's not the kind of thing they just put you in prison for. They go a step further.
Yeah.
So that's a scary one.
Well, I mean, speaking of drugs, the war on drugs, to me, is, I think, the ultimate conspiracy. That is, many aspects of it very provable, that this was more or less a method of controlling certain parts of the population, and there was never actually an attempt or a goal to curb drug use in some humanitarian way, that it is just kind of a way of cracking down on certain, let's say, enemies of the state, for lack of a better term. I mean, that really ultimately is what it is. Also, the idea of the CIA being involved in drug smuggling.
Yes.
Just this notion that there's no real moral high ground when it comes to government. That's sort of where my brain lands in terms of stuff that I truly believe. And I would not consider, I don't think any of us consider, the whole point of the show is we're not conspiracy theorists. That term is what's called a thought-terminating cliche, this idea that you use that to deflate the validity of something. And Ben may have pointed out that we like to use the term conspiracy realists, and I think we're living in the midst of some pretty intense conspiracies that are happening before our very eyes. So, a lot of this stuff isn't a stretch, and we talk about those things, and we also talk about the ones that are a little more outlandish, that veer more into the territory of thought experiments. But I think all of them are important to think about and to talk about.
Guys, if you had told us back in, was it Matt, 2010?
Sure.
If you had told us back in 2010 what 2025 was going to be like, I don't know if we would have gotten into this show. All right, next question.
Do you guys have any personal experiences that would be show-worthy?
Oh, wow.
Is this a legal inquiry?
I'm trying to think if there would be like an interaction with somebody. I imagine like a Men in Black kind of situation. Oh my God, I just lost my Virgin Voyages bracelet. I will fix that soon because that is my identity on this ship, and I have learned this. Wow, right as I was going to talk about that too. One time, a friend of mine took me out to a place called Augusta, Georgia, which is kind of near Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S., and he was pretty obsessed with looking at what he believed were unidentified aerial phenomena. So another friend and I went out there and took some pretty high-powered telescopes and spent the entirety of the night just aimed up at different places, trying to see and capture the same things that he was sending us images of, that he was out there capturing by his pond. And I got to tell you, I couldn't find anything. And then all of a sudden, something very strange blipped into the sky that was very bright, and you imagine a flashlight as you're turning it this way or something, you can kind of see the way the light changes and curves that way. It looked like a flashlight way up in the sky, but the size of, I don't know, it looked like a planet, the size of what you'd imagine a planet looks like, just goes. And I only saw it for a second, and I didn't capture it correctly because I was in a different sector of the sky. And it freaks me the heck out because I've looked up everything that it could have possibly been in the sky at that moment, and none of it checks out for me.
Matt, I think I've mentioned this when we talked about this on the show. When I was younger, I was in a band and I was touring across the kind of Midwest, and we were going through Nebraska, which is really, really flat and lots of cornfields. And I really, truly saw what I can only describe as like a geometrically unusually shaped thing just hovering way off in the distance. And I had this little mini DV camera in those days that I carried around, and I got footage of it, and I can't find the tape to save my life, y'all. And I know I sound like a crazy person, but I swear I had the tape somewhere and I saw it. But it was very, very, very strange, and something that I to this day can't fully explain. So I'm there with you, and it's that when you feel that, there's something to that. Yeah. No.
We're gonna find that tape.
You know what?
We're going to put our best man on it.
I've been working with professional organizers, been Marie Kondoing my house lately. Yeah. So hopefully I will come across this bag of DV tapes and dig through it and see what I can find.
Yes. Pinky promise?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I don't know what we just agreed to, but that's cool.
So with that added there, I think what's fascinating is so many people statistically have seen something they can't explain. Whether that's a UFO, which just means unidentified flying object, right? Anything, therefore, that you can't identify is a UFO, right?
Correct.
And we have talked with, personally, aviation experts, people who make their living as pilots, and they'll tell us, I know what stuff looks like in the sky, and I haven't
the Tic Tac
run into
stuff.
it. The Tic Tac stuff.
You're seeing they're these professionals describing this phenomenon that it shouldn't move like that. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be able to go from the sea to the air in that amount of time at that trajectory. And it's stuff like that really does make you kind of do a little double take.
And also a lot of people, especially in that professional aviation space or the security space, they don't want to report it or to talk about it because it could endanger their jobs, right? It could endanger the chances for promotion, the credibility, your livelihood. Switching gears to answer the original question there, sir. In a life before podcasting, I was in Central America for some time, and a cryptid encounter. I don't think we talked about this much on the air, but I was out in the middle of nowhere. It was my fault because there was this one pickup truck I was supposed to meet, right? But that was my only way back to the city, right? And I missed the pickup truck. So I'm just stuck out there, and I'm hearing these wild noises I'd never heard before. It definitely wasn't a bird. I think. I'm not an ornithologist.
Are we talking like chupacabras?
I was about to ask.
I don't know. Because here's the thing. Because I was hearing this, and I was freaking out, and I asked, like a guy who lived there, and I was like, "Hey, man, do you hear that?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "What is that?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah, it's like we call it something like we call it the old man in the woods." I was like, "Don't name it that." and then I was asking, I was like, "What is it?" And he's like, "Well, old men, right?" And I was like,
was it a wheezing kind of sound? Like,
it was like, I can't even do it, but it's kind of like a high-pitched thing that also, like, you have a lot of range locally, so you could probably do it.
You think I have range?
Yeah, I can.
Depends.
His parents, opera singers.
It's true.
True story.
Yeah.
So I heard this, and what got me is I'd never thought about this, right? Long story short, make it back to the city I was in at the time, a little place called Quetzaltenango, if we're familiar in Guatemala. Jela, be the street or casual name. And I asked people in Jela about it, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that guy."
Oh, the old man in the woods.
Yeah. We know that guy.
And then I asked some more like academic people, and I was like, "Well, is this a thing? Is this a real animal? Are you guys like snipe hunting me? Is this hazing or something? Because I missed the truck." And their answer was, "It's a cryptid native to the area." And everybody in the area,
that's cool.
I can't remember the name,
shared this story
but people in the area of that area, like they believe in it and accept it as fact. And you run into that in so many different places in the world. We did a cryptid episode where we learned about cryptids around the world. One of the common things. What? Aswang, yeah.
No, squonk.
Squonk.
The squonk is the saddest little boy. Oh, he's on a single tear. He looks like Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah. I love the squonk.
And we learned about, especially in places that have a lot of biodiversity, like Indonesia. Mm-hmm. What was that? The bird thing?
I just know Mothman, dude.
Mothman.
And his prophecy. That guy's got a serious six-pack. That dude is ripped.
He puts the time in.
Yeah. We also, I mean, if we're going to get back to the ocean and how little we know about the ocean and the deep, deep, deep parts of the ocean, my favorite, like almost real-life cryptid opportunity is the Planet Earth series about the deep sea and like the vampire squid and like these, you know, what do they call them? Those angler fish with like the lanterns. They create their own light. Yeah. Like those are closest things to aliens that I think exist on this planet.
They got a real messed up sex life, dude.
I bet they do. I don't even want to get into it.
All right, we're going to pause here for a word from our sponsors, and then we'll be back with the most important part of the show, you and your fellow listeners. And we've returned. Let's get into it.
Guys, I think we just talked on one question for like 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Let's put the focus back on you. Thank you, sir.
Sorry.
Yes, I have a question for you. Is there anything that you don't want us to know because it's a topic that you don't want to cover?
Guy, right?
Correct.
Hey, Guy, it's good to see you. We met earlier. That's a
I had breakfast with Guy, everybody. Sorry, that's full disclosure. Just happened to be sitting across from Guy.
Nice. Okay. Gosh, what do we want to say?
I mean, Scientologists are pretty litigious, right?
Right.
That's we've certainly talked about it, but there are things you got to be a little careful about, and we typically, I don't know if there's much that we need to steer clear of, and just to be clear too, iHeart, our lovely corporate overlords, they don't censor anything that we do. There's no topic that's off limits.
Which is crazy.
Absolutely, wonderful to have that level of trust and that level of partnership. And I say corporate overlords with love, by the way. I
because we're on
Thank
record.
you.
I hope that's clear.
One thing, I love the Scientology example because, we want no stone left unturned, but that point about being litigious, there are things where we had to be a little bit careful.
Not only are they litigious, they'll come for you.
They will find you.
Yeah.
Clearwater, Florida is not that far away. And we had a moment, I think we remember, we were doing the show on something they did called Operation Snow White, which was a huge heist against the IRS. I'm not the biggest fan of the IRS personally, but I don't think you should try to do a heist. You'll get in trouble. So we had to phrase it so carefully. We had to say, the Church of Scientology maintains to this day that they never did Operation Snow White. They never approved it. They're not trying to heist the government. Several people disagree, including the United States Supreme Court.
Well, if anyone's ever read the book that the Alex Gibney documentary Going Clear was based on, the footnotes alone in that book are massive. And that's because it'll be all this stuff in the text about a thing that supposedly happened, and then in the footnotes it says the Church of Scientology disavows that this ever happened. And so, it's bonkers. You really do have to be careful with those folks.
Matt, you got one?
I go back to the stuff that the Mythbusters guys said they couldn't talk about, and I don't want to tell tales out of school. It has to do with credit card technology and how credit cards get read, and how there's some dangers to some of that maybe we don't fully understand as people who just buy or get a credit card and then use it to purchase things by going boop. That's all. Don't look into it. Everything's fine.
That's just that's the front door of the rabbit hole. Yeah.
So first off, I want to light something up and smoke it with y'all because I feel like that would be a fabulous time. And, I'm a film fan, as I know the three of you guys are too. If you had 24 hours left on Earth, you had one movie to watch again, which one would you choose, and what makes you connect to that film?
Holy crap, dude.
Other than vibes?
Other than vibes included. Other than
Vibes the movie, not just vibes in general. The American cinematic masterpiece.
Featuring Jeff Goldblum and Cyndi Lauper. So we're going to bracket that one because that's an obvious answer.
Would it be Police Academy 3 for you, Ben?
Oh, maybe 4? I don't know. I'm thinking through it. Okay, so you have 24 hours.
I think for me it would probably be either the Roberto Benigni movie Life is Beautiful, because it makes me feel a way, and it's funny and also touching and moving, and it's beautiful to look at. I really, 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 really like Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie One Battle After Another. I feel like it's so prescient for what's going on, and especially for a thing that you've been working on for 20 years, and this happened to come out at this time. And that movie's also really funny and exciting and just powerful. So I don't know. That's what's on my mind right now.
That's awesome.
Look, full disclosure again, I keep doing that. I was a film student in Georgia and journalism minor, and my favorite film that I've only seen once, and I don't know that I would watch it again unless I knew I only had 24 hours on Earth, is Tree of Life by Terrence Malick.
Yeah, good pick.
And it is because it's a tough watch.
It's a meditative
at times, and it's very meditative and beautiful and amazing and wonderful. But I wouldn't just sit down to go, all right, Saturday, let's Tree of Life this thing. It's a long movie. It's very artistic. It's moving. It's all kinds of things.
It's got dinosaurs in it.
Yeah, it's just not a let's hang out and actually have fun kind of thing. It's like, let's go in and learn and feel. So that would be my choice.
And not to deflect here, but I really like this question, and I don't want to.
I know what you're going to say.
I want to meditate on that, like chew on it a little bit. Are you getting off the boat tonight? Are you going to be here a while? Okay, cool. Let's hang out. I really want to think about that. That's an excellent
Police
question.
Academy 4.
But that's not a film. That's an experience.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
It's got to be on VHS, though. How many police academies are there?
Like 6 right now, but Hope Springs
Do you think
Eternal.
they're going to do a Police Academy reboot?
At some
It's
point.
time. The
At
Naked Gun
some
reboot
point.
was really good.
That was great. Yeah.
That was fun.
All right. So I'll find you when I get my shit together. Okay. All right. What's our next question? Yes.
If you have just a moment,
Yeah.
I want to caveat this. If you've ever flown an aircraft over the ocean, it's easy to lose the horizon. That's a given fact. I mean, they just, so if you're not instrument trained, you can fly it right into the water. All right?
Yeah.
And you talk about back to the Navy program. Now, part of this is through expression, and then I'll ask for forgiveness later. But if you're flying in formation and you hit a storm, you said it was about 3:45 in the afternoon. I don't know if daylight savings time was in, but if they were flying west and it was as late as 4:30 in the afternoon or 3:40 in the afternoon, you'd have been flying into the sun. If you're driving down the highway and you hit into a deluge and you think you're going to go 70 miles an hour, all of a sudden everybody's going 40 miles an hour. You don't have that opportunity in an aircraft.
Yes.
You can't pull up. All it takes is for the first guy to have vertigo. If the other 4 weren't instrument trained, they would have flown right into the ocean.
Because they just stay in formation with
Right.
that first
They
plane.
said with the first one that goes in, they wouldn't see it. And I caveat this 2 ways. I have over 2,000 hours in both military and civilian time flying fixed
Nice.
wing and
Y'all got a hand. Yeah.
right? And
Thank you.
That's not the caveat. It gets
That's
worse.
cool. That's just cool.
That's
it gets
awesome.
worse. I've seen a UFO.
Yes!
That gets better.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
Whoa, whoa,
Don't
whoa,
you
no, no,
dare-
no, 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 no,
don't
no, no,
you
no.
dare put that mic on.
Give it back.
Let's put a pin in that. We'll put a pin in that for later for the
No,
smoke
no,
sesh.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
You'll notice my wife left me before I said that.
Oh gosh, she knew what was coming.
Can you tell us anything about it?
Yeah,
Actually,
just
this was in Orlando, and I was coming back with another. This guy had a private pilot's license as well, and I had just gotten out of the military, so it set the scene.
Okay.
We were coming back. It was not quite dark yet from playing golf. We weren't drinking. We hadn't been at the 9th hole or 19th hole, and all of a sudden, this, I don't know how to describe it, just a light source came over our heads, turned a little bit, and then without motion, or not without motion, without sound and anything else, just poof, disappeared. Now again, I was fresh out of the military. I went back and called the tower at McCoy Air Force Base, which is now Orlando International, and told them what I saw. I said, look, I'm not a nutcase, but here's what I saw.
Yeah.
All right. And he said, well, thank you, and I left my name and number. 2 weeks later, they called me and told me that 3 other commercial aircraft had broken formation that evening at that same time frame, and they couldn't explain why, because they thought another vessel was crossing their flight path.
wow.
Holy mackerel.
So this was in Orlando, MCO. It's got to be in the history book somewhere on the records.
You
So I
need-
told you, my theory about the 5 Navy aircraft, I think, is probably pretty close, because I've been in an aircraft over the English Channel when my pilot, in the controls at the time, got vertigo, and I had to wrestle the controls out of his hand.
Oh, wow.
So,
We're heading into white water, right? Isn't that what?
well, white water is easy to explain. If you're flying into the sun and it's a heavy rainstorm, it's just like driving heavy rainstorm at night or in the day, and the sun is on the other side of the rain.
Totally.
It will blind you.
Wow. I think okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That helps a lot.
Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for your service.
Wow.
Wow.
Any other questions?
What else? We got a couple folks.
Aw, this is so fun.
All right, so I'm from Mississippi, and in southern Mississippi, we had a Stennis Space Center, and they test rockets there.
Yeah.
So when you all were talking about the Bermuda Triangle and weather happens and nobody control it, my thing is that I want to ask you all what you think about HAARP and government weather control, if you can talk about it.
We know it's possible. We know like cloud seeding and the way that's been used in spectacles, for example, like was it in the Beijing Olympics?
Yeah. In advance of the 2008 Beijing Olympics, the government of China did participate in cloud seeding. It's an old technology, but it's very imperfect because weather systems are one big interrelated organism. So you can seed clouds in one region and bring some rain, but that rain, that moisture, comes from somewhere else. So someone else is going to have a bad day, right? When you're up in the ionosphere, when you're in the lower parts of the atmosphere. This means that weather manipulation, the idea has been kind of weaponized, right, to dismiss it.
It would be an imprecise thing at best.
Yeah,
right?
it's imprecise at best. That's a perfect word for it. And then HAARP, man, for years in the early days, we were obsessed
Quick
with HAARP.
primer, yeah.
Up there, northward bound.
The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. That's one of the first things we covered together back on YouTube a long time ago.
Long time ago. And the thing that really made us suspicious about it is the U.S. government in particular is really bad at trying to reassure you or make you not look into stuff.
Right.
Because you ask about HAARP and they're like, all right, 7-1 cursing. We ask about HAARP and they're like, oh, yeah. We're just, we're up there in the north and we're just sort of walking around with the ionosphere. Just see what happens.
Where do
And
the lizard
there's no-
people come in?
There's like nothing to worry about. We're just doing experiments. Yeah, what kind of experiments? And they say, look, I'm going to have to let you go. We'll talk later. But I think knowing that cloud seeding is real, knowing that there are active, HAARP is closed down now, officially, but knowing that there are active research programs that were quite well funded in their time to do things that were quite obtuse to the American taxpayer is itself a worrying proposition. So I think, just speaking for myself, I personally think there's something to it. And I don't know about you, Matt, I don't know about you, Noel, but I think that's a little closer to conspiracy actual. Conspiracy.
Well, it's pretty nuts. Did you talk about what it can theoretically do, HAARP?
Oh, no, we gave him the official government explanation. Let's talk about something theoretically.
The theory is that it's a fairly small research station, can send a signal, basically, of energy out into the atmosphere in a way that it comes back down onto another place on the Earth, and it actually affects the ionosphere. It functions through the ionosphere, right? Is that
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the theoretical concept of what this thing can do. And I remember we were looking at it, and then you see things happening in the news, especially when there's like a pretty high-profile wildfire or a fire that affects a city, or fires is usually the thing that you mostly see it with, or a huge power outage, like an entire grid goes down. HAARP comes up on the internet with comments and people saying, oh, it's probably HAARP, that's what it was. But if you talk to anybody who actually works at that facility or has anything to do with that program, that is not at all what the facility does and what it studies. And most of it happens a lot when it's a facility that is either a telescope or is meant to, study dark, gravitational waves, or something that is kind of outside of our full scientific understanding as just lay people walking around. There's this concept that perhaps there is some kind of sinister use for whatever that is instead. Oh, they're creating portals out there with the Large Hadron Collider, right? This concept when the science is so beyond us, it must be something that's crazier than what they're actually attempting to do. And I think that's often what happens with HAARP.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We also know that so much of scientific progress and technological progress does come from military funding. Shout out to our pals at DARPA. Yeah, I see you up there. Get out. No, I'm just kidding. DARPA is an amazing and strange organization, and similar to HAARP, DARPA is the subject of so many conspiracy theories, and the thing that we have to realize is you will have brilliant, well-intentioned scientists and researchers, and they will be focused on like a purely mathematical or purely academic problem. And the second stage of that is where Uncle Sam comes in, or whatever the local version of Uncle Sam is, and says, okay, we get it. This is amazing. We dig this microwave idea. Just for example, how could we make this a weapon? Because we really need an edge. The poor scientist is like, well, I just thought it'd be, cool if we could talk to whales. And they're like, all right, well, what if we could make the whales soldiers? Like it turns into this weird brainstormy pitch meeting.
Mount the lasers on the frickin' dolphins' heads,
Which is a real thing.
Sharks with lasers attached to their fingertips.
But there were weaponized dolphins. That is a thing.
So we see, so what we see then is kind of what's like a Venn diagram of speculation, but it's based on truth. Similar to conspiracy theories about the Bermuda Triangle, things really did, for one reason or another, disappear. They haven't been found. And from that seed of truth grows an oak tree of possibility and speculation.
Time for a break. Ads. We'll be right back. Whip. Hey, we're back.
Well, should we, Carly's, I don't see you. Yeah, Carly, I see you. Okay. Are there more questions?
Moon landing. What y'all got?
Oh, man.
And how they get that camera out there?
Moon landing.
Well, here's one for me. How did they get such great imagery with just running that film camera, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just knowing, again, I'm a film student, guys, so, if you want to talk about mise-en-scène or anything like that, motif, but just cranking a film camera, while wearing that outfit, that was always the most mind-blowing thing to me. How could you get such beautiful, incredible imagery through that? Is it just chance? Because it would have to be. It would have to be pure chance that you're cranking that thing and it feels good. And there's also, I'm looking at you because I know you know a lot of stuff about some of this. There were other cameras on board, I believe, right? That were more the television cameras, theoretically, that are also running film. They were not hand cranked. They're already pre-wound, so once you hit it, it just goes, yeah? Okay, sure. That makes a lot of sense. The science that it takes and math that it takes. Bro,
I believe in you, man.
That's such a good point. And we can see that there is stuff there, right? I mean, you could be down here and you can actually shoot lasers up and see that there's stuff on the moon that we put there, humans put there, right? But it is kind of weird. Just because of the geopolitical tensions that were happening at the time, it was really convenient for the U.S. to be able to land on the moon in that moment. That's a little weird to me.
I got nothing. No, I think it probably.
Noel was pretty anti-moon.
Whether the moon exists or not is a whole other question.
Yeah.
I got my hair cut in Atlanta, and like the guy that was cutting my hair, was like, "Got a pitch for you, man. The moon isn't real." And I was like, "Okay."
You're like, "Okay, I'm gonna be in this seat for a while."
That's right.
So I'm just gonna my way through this.
He was a nice dude, but I think he might be misinformed about that particular one. But no, I do sometimes wonder about the quality of it as well, and I sometimes wonder if I get what you're saying about I can take a picture, I can't build a rocket, but I do sometimes feel like the footage feels a little staged, but I'm pretty sure we did do it, but that maybe there's a chance that they needed to make it have that wow factor, so they like stage something after the fact. I don't know.
It feels like in my mind, like I don't know what you
very
believe, and I
cinematic.
don't want to tell you what to believe. It does feel like a combination of actual scientific achievement, actual amazing things that humanity was able to do, but also it was made to look a certain way because there was a need.
A propagandistic need. There's a theory we ran into from some colleagues earlier. Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing, but he's such a fancy auteur that the only way they could fake it is going to the moon and faking it there.
Yeah.
That might explain some of the stuff, yeah.
I love that.
It's like Christopher Nolan, needed to actually detonate an A-bomb to make...
to make Oppenheimer.
To make Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy on their budget.
That's right.
So, what do we think, guys?
We've got one more.
Okay.
Oh, one more.
All right.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Big fan.
What's up?
Hello,
Hey, what's up, dude?
So, one question I have at least to get your opinion on is, what do you think of the Graham Hancock ancient apocalypse conspiracies now coming out of the origins of human history and how far back that goes?
Oh, we just talked about this.
There's a really cool thing that might interest you called the Silurian hypothesis. It's a Doctor Who reference for any fellow nerds. Oh, yeah. And the idea is that because of the span of time and the relatively brief moment of the fad we call human civilization, the question is it possible that an incredibly advanced civilization could have risen, it could have rose and fell, and then so much time would have ground on that humans now would not be able to tell what happened. And so when we were fascinated with that study and we were reading through it, and they're very clear that it's a thought experiment, but personally, they changed my mind about a lot of stuff, right? Like, you think about all the things humans can build now or have built thousands of years ago, and the footprints on the moon are probably going to last longer.
We talked about this too, and we were talking to some lovely journalists earlier about how some like ancient aliens theories and this kind of stuff, it's sort of dismissive of indigenous culture, where, this guy Graham Hancock, apparently they scrapped plans to make a Netflix ancient apocalypse documentary because of outcry from some Native American groups, because of the way he more or less erases their cultural footprint by saying that this other thing happened, that it was somehow something more than just human ingenuity that created some of these sites and features, and similar with like the pyramids, and so there is this sense that it's sort of like a cultural erasure with certain types of theories that go into this like ancient apocalypse, ancient aliens kind of stuff.
Sure. I think it'd be cool if there was an ancient civilization, that's where I'm at with a lot. I think that's where all three of us are at with a lot of these. You go through all the research, you look at all the possibilities at the end, you just kind of look around and go, could be pretty cool though. You know what I mean?
It feels like, I don't know. Look, I haven't had anything to smoke or anything, but man, that question makes me feel as though I'm out of my body almost when I really start to think about what being alive is like, feels like, what I experience, with my senses, and just to feel myself in one place in any one time. And then I imagine that this experience, if we're having it right now, and if evolution is true, that means that creatures, beings, things that have been able to feel and sense and think in some way have been around for millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of years, and then the life forms that created those have been around for billions and billions of years. Those time scales and all of that, it was a TV show, it was a documentary series called Life After People, like 2008, I think, when it came out. It tells you, Ben just kind of mentioned it, it shows you how quickly nature takes over and destroys and digests everything and anything, right? So then if I think about those time scales and I think about what we understand about that science, it feels like easily something else could have happened.
Right?
And we just haven't dug in the right places, or we don't understand what we're looking at when we find some of these things. Like, is it is it Bimini?
Bimini.
Bimini. I still don't know how to do it. But something like that, and you just it's fascinating to think about. But I also see the criticism, right? Of if you take that too far, and then you decide that the indigenous peoples in this area didn't actually create that thing when they absolutely did.
Yeah, and we still don't know the full official story of the modern Homo sapiens, right? Like I think, not to date anyone other than ourselves here, but I think we all remembered when folks looked into DNA and they said, "Holy smokes, there's a thing we didn't know about." One of the early mixtapes of human beings.
Yeah, there's going to be more of that. There's going to be more where that came from.
Neanderthal. There's more of that, so we don't really know. The current guess is that what we call the modern Homo sapien came onto the scene as the new kid on the block about 200,000 years ago. However, with every passing decade, that timeline gets pushed back a bit further, right? Because like Matt was saying, someone lucks out, they win the lottery, they dig in the right place where fossilization could occur, and they say, "Holy smokes, like, guys, we got to print new textbooks. We screwed that one up." And with that, I think so real skepticism is not having like that kind of zealous confirmation bias and saying, "I've decided what is or isn't true, therefore anything that violates that is malarkey to me." Real skepticism is saying...
please, language.
Right. But real skepticism, it does need a high degree of being inquisitive.
Yeah,
saying like,
100%.
I'm smart enough to change my mind when I discover a new fact.
I'm smart enough to know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of what we tried to bring to every conversation that we have. Self-awareness goes a hell of a long way. What was it, that movie we were just talking about, Ben, The Life of Chuck? They referenced this Carl Sagan concept of like the universal calendar, the idea that if like this whole span of time and civilization and everything we know was condensed to a calendar year, that humans would basically have come into existence in the final seconds of the last day.
Yes.
Like it's a lot. And the fact that, DNA, this discovery that changed everything about the way we think about humans and the way we think about biology, was such a relatively recent discovery. There's going to be more of those where that came from, in theory. And to quote the great scientist Emma Stone, she had a really good perspective at Cannes or some film festival where she was just saying like, there's just no possible way that given all of that space and all of that ink and all of that, negative space under the ocean, whether there's not something that we don't know about. And that's like the whole thesis of our show.
And you brought it back to the ocean.
I did try to do that. It was very intentional.
I was going to take it to velociraptors and amber and dinosaurs and DNA. That's what I remember about DNA, that little character on the screen.
Yeah.
Life,
like Clippy. He was like Clippy.
Yeah.
And
I got DNA.
You can, and the good news is if you are looking for cryptids and mysterious large creatures, the ocean right beneath us is the best place to find them on Earth right now. The even better news is that although we may be at times cryptic or cryptids ourselves, we're pretty easy to find on the boat. So if you want to hang out with us after this, ask some questions, or just see us and say hi as we're adventuring around, we'd love to kick it.
Yeah, for sure.
Please hang with us.
Please.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Vincent, and the crew in the back. Thanks to Virgin and
Truly.
Y'all
are the best. Thank you so much, y'all.
All those people there.
Woo. And there you have it, fellow conspiracy realists, friends, and neighbors. That is our live Q&A session. Thanks to everybody on the vessel who participated. And you might, it's normal for people to sometimes have FOMO. So you might be saying, dang, I wish I was there. I wish I could have a Q&A with my favorite conspiracy podcast. I'm just manifesting that one, folks. Well, the good news is you can be part of the show in an upcoming listener mail program. All you have to do is tell us your thoughts, give us a lead for a new episode. We always love that. And all terrible jokes and puns more than welcome. So how do I find you guys? You might be asking. Well, you can call us on the phone. You can find us on email. You can always find us on the lines.
That's right. You can find us at the handle Conspiracy Stuff, where we exist on Facebook with our Facebook group. Here's where it gets crazy. On X, FKA Twitter, where you can do an X, as I guess is apparently the appropriate nomenclature. We still call them tweets. You can also find us at that handle on YouTube, where we have video content galore for you to enjoy. On Instagram and TikTok, however, we're Conspiracy Stuff Show.
You can call our number 1-833-STDWYTK. It's a voicemail system. When you call in, let us know what cruise we should go on next as a show, or what resort we should stay at, or what private airline we should take. Not really. But tell us where you would want to go. Maybe we could figure something out. Give us a call. Give yourself a cool nickname and let us know if we can use your name and message on the air. If you want to send us an email, you can do that too. We are
the entities that read each piece of correspondence we receive. Be well aware, yet unafraid. Sometimes the void writes back. So hit us with a riddle, hit us with a joke, hit us with a spooky story all your own. We can't wait for you to join us out here in the dark. Conspiracy at iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.